Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. Jian Wushuang has fought his way through the toughest competition, and now only one challenge remains. In our last episode, Wushuang defeated a supreme genius, securing his place in the final, and uncovering a dangerous conspiracy woven into the tournament itself. Today, the final battle for the continent's honor. Chapters 61 through 65 cover the grand finale of the regional competition. Wushuang faces the domain's ultimate champion, a rival whose talent and background surpass all others. This is a battle for more than a title. It is a fight to expose the conspiracy and secure a prize of unimaginable value. Wushuang must unleash techniques never before seen, pushing the limits of his heavenly creation skill to achieve the ultimate victory. The final duel begins now. Chapter 61 starts right away. Chapter 61. Going through the Dragon Gate. Gold Dragon Ambassador, what do you think about this little guy? Huaman asked. His comprehension of the sword principle of Gale is good. Yi Rufeng smiled slightly and looked at Jian Wushuang, then continued, Little guy, how old are you? 17, Jian Wushuang replied. Only 17. Yi Rufeng and Huaman both had a surprised expression. Then Yi Rufeng laughed and said, You are excellent considering your high comprehension of the sword principle of Gale. Little guy, you should prepare yourself to go to the Dragon Palace with me in 2 days. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up because he understood that Yi Rufeng recognized his talent and was going to recommend him. Thank you so much, Gold Dragon Ambassador, Jian Wushuang said immediately. You are welcome. It will also benefit me if you really become a disciple of Dragon Palace. Yi Rufeng gave a wave. Jian Wushuang nodded and then he left. Qingdong City, Celestial Immortal Residence. Brother Swordsman. Swordsman, how did it go? Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao had been waiting for him since earlier. The Gold Dragon Ambassador promised to recommend me. But it's not guaranteed that I can join Dragon Palace, Jian Wushuang said. Ha ha, based on your strength, you should definitely be able to. Come on. Cheers, Ling Tianhao said and smiled. Jian Wushuang grabbed the wine cup and had a toast with Ling Tianhao. Although the time that he had been acquainted with Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao was not long, he found that they were a spontaneous and merited group after getting along with them. The status of a Gold Dragon Ambassador is high and he knows a lot regarding Dragon Palace. Also, a Gold Dragon Ambassador has a limited number of recommendations, so each recommendation is important. Since the Gold Dragon Ambassador recommended you, it means that he thinks you have the ability to make it through the test to join Dragon Palace, Yin Minute said. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Indeed, Yi Rufeng was well informed on the situation inside the Dragon Palace. Since he was willing to recommend him, it meant that he was confident in Jian Wushuang. Ha, based on that, you will definitely be able to join and cultivate in the Dragon Palace. Come on. Cheers. Cheers. Congratulations. Ling Tianhao said instantly. Jian Wushuang and Yin Minute also lift their cups. The three of them were drinking with passion. 2 days later, at the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace. Little guy, are you ready? Let's go, Yi Rufeng said. Jian Wushuang nodded and then he left the city with Yi Rufeng. Now, they were outside of the city. Grasp my hand, Yi Rufeng said. After grasping Yi Rufeng's hand without hesitance, Jian Wushuang felt a special power gathering beneath Yi Rufeng's feet. Subsequently, the figure of Yi Rufeng was floating and then Jian Wushuang also began floating. Then, they left at an incredible speed. Is this Void Walk? Jian Wushuang was surprised and became even more eager to reach the Yin-Yang Void Realm. The distance between the Dragon Palace and Qingdong City was equal to the most remote provinces. It would take 1 or 2 months to rush to the Dragon Palace if Jian Wushuang walked there on his own. But now it would only take 1 day to rush to the Dragon Palace under Yi Rufeng's lead. Is this the Dragon Palace? Jian Wushuang was still floating in the air, overlooking the boundless ground in astonishment. Below him, he saw an area between 2 giant mountains, full of magnificent palaces and pavilions that towered above the ground. In the center, a statue of a gold dragon was coiled up, appearing as if it was flying to the 9th heaven. Let's go down. Yi Rufeng dived down along with Jian Wushuang. Upon reaching the ground, many figures appeared in front of them. These people all wore the same golden armors and helmets, holding golden long spears. When they saw Yi Rufeng, they paid their respects instantly and said, "Your Excellency." "Where are the two palace masters?" Yi Rufeng asked directly. "They are both staying at the Dragon Gate," a golden-armored sergeant, a leader among them, said. "Oh, the Dragon Gate? Is there an exceptional genius going through the Dragon Gate Pass? He should be fascinating if he drew the attention of the two palace masters," replied Yi Rufeng. "Yes. He is new, but his talent is unbelievable. It's said that he has made it through the 6th layer," said the golden-armored sergeant. "What? The 6th layer?" Yi Rufeng was shocked and then waved his hand, saying, "Carry on with your duties. I'll go meet the two palace masters on my own." Okay, those golden-armored sergeants went back to work immediately. However, they could not help glancing at Jian Wushuang as they left. Jian Wushuang's expression was serious. Once those golden-armored sergeants were gone, he could not help asking, "Your Excellency, those sergeants are all experts in the Gold Core realm?" "Yes. And their strength is at the peak of the Gold Core realm." Yi Rufeng smiled casually and continued saying, "Those golden-armored sergeants are the emperor-guarding army that is well known in the Qianzhong dynasty. They specifically guard the imperial palace and some other important areas. They are the most elite and violent force in the Qianzhong dynasty. The battle strength of the army is astonishing. The minimum strength required to become a sergeant in the emperor-guarding army, the peak of the Golden Core realm." "What?" Jian Wushuang was astonished. The minimum strength required for normal sergeants was the peak of the Gold Core realm? "Little guy, I have heard from Huaman that you have a great enmity with the Blood Feather Tower, and that it's irreconcilable. Is that right?" Yi Rufeng asked while looking at Jian Wushuang. "Yes," Jian Wushuang said and nodded. "Don't worry about the Blood Feather Tower. As long as you can make it through the Dragon Palace's test and become a disciple of Dragon Palace, you will be protected. The Dragon Palace is located at the campsite of the Emperor Guarding Army. There are many experts. The Blood Feather Tower has no way to kill you in the Dragon Palace, even if they sent all of their experts here," said Yi Rufeng. Jian Wushuang believed him. "Your Excellency, is the Dragon Gate that the sergeant mentioned also the testing area for joining the Dragon Palace?" Jian Wushuang asked. "You are clever." "Yes, a carp jumping into the Dragon Gate means that you are successful. Every disciple who joins and cultivates in the Dragon Palace has to make it through the Dragon Gate Pass. That is the test you must pass," Yi Rufeng narrated. "The test in the Dragon Gate is special. It doesn't test your cultivation, spiritual power, or your martial arts technique. It tests your comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth. The Dragon Gate has total 13 layers. The first layer requires comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth. The higher your comprehension, the more layers you go through. Under normal circumstances, the minimum for joining the Dragon Palace is to make it through the 3rd layer. Because your swordsmanship was executed using your comprehension of the sword principle of Gale, I think that you are very likely to make it through the 3rd layer. That is why I recommended you," Yi Rufeng said. "Based on my comprehension of the sword principle of Gale, it is very likely that I can make it through the 3rd layer." Jian Wushuang's expression became strange. From what the golden-armored sergeant said earlier, a new person, like him, that just arrived, was currently going through the Dragon Gate and had already passed through the 6th layer. Chapter 62. Peerless Genius Yang Zixuan. Okay. This is the Dragon Gate. Yi Rufeng led Jian Wushuang to a towering golden pavilion. At a glance, the pavilion appeared to have 13 levels. At the moment, many people were standing in front of the golden pavilion. The two most prominent people were an old man wearing a black robe and a graceful woman dressed in white. Even though Yi Rufeng was an expert, upon seeing these two people he bowed to pay his respects and said, "Greetings, Palace Master Black and Palace Master White." Yi Rufeng, the graceful woman in white, looked at him and Jian Wushuang, then said with a smile, "You brought this little guy to go through the Dragon Gate?" "Yes," said Yi Rufeng with a nod. "You will have to wait a minute. Someone else is already going through the Dragon Gate now," said the graceful woman in white, then she turned her head immediately. Yi Rufeng and Jian Wushuang had no choice but to wait quietly. Jian Wushuang lifted his head and looked at the towering golden pavilion. The lowest 6 levels of this 13-level golden pavilion were shining. Jian Wushuang knew it meant that 6 levels had been passed by the genius that was currently going through the Dragon Gate. Currently, the genius was making his way through the 7th level. Suddenly, the 7th level of the golden pavilion also burst out with a golden light. He passed the 7th level. Yi Rufeng shouted out in shock. Many others outside of the golden pavilion also shouted out in surprise. Sir Yi, is it amazing that he passed the 7th level? Jian Wushuang couldn't help asking. Amazing. It is really amazing, Yi Rufeng nodded seriously and said, I have told you that moving through the Dragon Gate is based on your comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth. It's likely that you could make it through the 3rd level with your comprehension of the sword principle of Gale. But it's hard to say if you could make it through the 4th level. As for the 7th level, it's a huge bottleneck. Generally speaking, only someone with comprehension equal to an expert in the yin-yang void realm can make it through. In other words, if someone gets through the 7th level, it means that his comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth is not less than an expert in the yin-yang void realm. Jian Wushuang was shocked. How strong was an expert in the yin-yang void realm? How high was an expert's comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth? Jian Wushuang could not imagine it. However, he knew that the amount of time he spent comprehending the essence realm of heaven and earth was short. Although he reached a certain level of understanding, there were numerous people whose comprehension was higher than his just among experts in the gold core realm. As for the yin-yang void realm, he was too far away from them. If going through the 7th level is amazing, how about the 8th level? Jian Wushuang asked. Suddenly, the 8th level of the golden pavilion immediately burst out with golden light. He passed through the 8th level. The 8th level Yi Rufeng had a shocked expression. No wonder the 2 palace maters of Dragon Palace came. A marvelous new member has appeared. Even before cultivating in Dragon Palace, he can already pass through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. There's no doubt that he'll make greater progress after cultivating in Dragon Palace. His achievements will be even more spectacular. He is really a peerless genius. Yi Rufeng was full of praise, but Jian Wushuang only gave a shrug after listening to his explanation. He was just good in the eyes of Yi Rufeng, but the genius going through the Dragon Gate was praised by Yi Rufeng. With this, it's easy to see how amazingly talented he was. Going through the 8th level of Dragon Gate represented that his comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth had surpassed many experts of the yin-yang void realm. It also induced a burst of surprise outside of the golden pavilion. However, the 8th was the limit. The 9th level of the golden pavilion did not light up in the end. Jingle! The gate of the golden pavilion opened. Wearing a blood-red robe, with a blood-red saber on his back, a young man slowly appeared before the eyes of the crowd. Everyone looked at the young man for the first time, including Jian Wushuang. He was slender and handsome with a hint of indifference and pride on his face. A glimmer of an unyielding will was hidden in the deep of his eyes, and he emanated an aura of coldness. The man is cold. Jian Wushuang frowned secretly. Ha ha, little guy. Welcome to Dragon Palace. The black and white palace masters, as well as the nearby experts of the Dragon Palace, all greeted him with a smile. Little guy, what's your name and how old are you? Palace Master White asked with good intentions. Yang Zixuan, 21, he replied in a cold voice. Everyone who heard him was immediately surprised. 21. He is only 21 years old, yet his comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth is already so high. He managed to pass through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. The most dazzling talent in Dragon Palace only made it through the 8th level. Awesome! Our Dragon Palace will become boisterous. Bai Cheng finally has a rival. Many disciples of Dragon Palace that were present were talking about that. A 21-year-old man had gone through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. Even in Dragon Palace, it was incredible. He was the most exceptional one among all the exceptional geniuses. After all, previously, there had only been one person that made it through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. And he was known as the #1 genius in Dragon Palace, Bai Cheng. Yang Zixuan is amazing, Yi Rufeng said, then sighed with emotion. Having sighed for a while, The black and white palace masters looked at Yi Rufeng and Jian Wushuang. Yi Rufeng, you can let this little guy you brought go through the Dragon Gate now, Palace Master White said, completely ignoring Jian Wushuang. The palace masters had a high status, so the geniuses who had gone through the Dragon Gate were only worth a glance to them. Only a peerless genius like Yang Zixuan could excite the two palace masters and receive their enthusiastic treatment. Little guy, you should go. Remember, you should try your best to go to the highest level you can reach, said Yi Rufeng. Okay, said Jian Wushuang. Then he nodded and went straight towards the golden pavilion without paying attention to the gazes of the people around him. He quickly entered the golden pavilion. The first level of the Dragon Gate. A red-haired man was sitting cross-legged on the empty ground. When Jian Wushuang walked inside, the man suddenly glared at Jian Wushuang and said, "Little guy, if you beat me, you can go to the next level. Come on." As soon as he finished speaking, the red-haired man began to brandish his large axe, which was surrounded by a blast of invisible airflow. In an instant, the large axe slashed toward his opponent. Jian Wushuang immediately swung his triple-kill sword to block the blow. Then he directly took the chance to strike back, scratching the garment of the red-haired man. Obviously, the red-haired man was defeated. He made it through the first level. Chapter 63, the fourth level. On the first floor, the opponent I met was good at axemanship, but he did not comprehend any of the essence realm of heaven and earth. Therefore, it was easy to defeat him, Jian Wushuang thought privately. Then he entered the second floor. The opponent he faced on the second floor had comprehended a trace of the essence realm of heaven and earth. It was the Gale essence, but only the initial stage, so Jian Wushuang still defeated him easily. On the third floor, Jian Wushuang faced a much stronger opponent. After all, one must pass through the third level, at the least, to enter Dragon Palace. Naturally, it was more difficult. Go to hell. An ice-cold sword light flashed before disappearing in an instant. In the end, Jian Wushuang defeated him with the first move of anonymous swordsmanship. On the fourth floor, Jian Wushuang's opponent was a black-clothed elder, who held a purple soft sword in his hand. Chuu. Another ice-cold sword light flashed. Once again, it was the first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. Formless swordsmanship. The black-clothed elder smiled slightly and said, "What a coincidence, I can use the sword essence of Gale too." The same ice-cold dazzling sword light appeared in the black-clothed elder's hand. They were brandishing two of the same sword shadows with the same sword essence. Not only that, both of them released nearly the same spiritual power because the opponent was from the Dragon Gate. Clang! The two sword edges met. What? Jian Wushuang was astonished and downcast. He could clearly tell that the swordsmanship used by the grey-clothed elder was faster than his, even if it was only by a little. His comprehension of the sword principle of Gale is higher than mine, Jian Wushuang realized immediately. Sword-killing movement. Jian Wushuang followed with the second move of anonymous swordsmanship. Ha ha, it's useless. In the Dragon Gate, the real test is in your comprehension of essence realm of heaven and earth. Martial arts technique and swordsmanship don't make a big difference here. Besides, I can use sword-killing movement too. The killing intent from the purple soft sword in the black-clothed elder's hand exploded, attacking with a sword light which was equal to the one Jian Wushuang released. Once again, two equal sword lights met, and the black-clothed elder suppressed him again. Little boy, give it up. You are too weak in the sword principle of Gale to pass the fourth level, the black-clothed elder said with a smile. Really? Jian Wushuang's expression became serious. Then he said, "What about this move?" After saying that, a heavy sword essence was released. Jian Wushuang swung his long sword with great momentum. It's Earth Sword Essence. The black-clothed elder's expression changed. It's not easy to comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth. Comprehending one was difficult. To comprehend two at the same time was much more difficult. Yang Zixuan, who passed through the 8th level just now, was a super genius that comprehended two at the same time. The black-clothed elder didn't expect that the little guy standing in front of him, who was under 20 years old, not only had a high level of comprehension in the sword essence of Gale, but also comprehended earth sword essence at the same time. A sword shadow with great momentum rushed straight towards him, as if it could chop up a mountain. After perceiving the great amount of power contained in the sword shadow, the black-clothed elder's countenance changed a little. He didn't fight back recklessly, quickly choosing to dodge it instead. However, before the elder could use his sword to attack, Jian Wushuang changed his sword essence again. He used the sword essence of Gale along with the first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. He can shift between the sword essences of Gale and Earth so easily. The black-clothed elder was surprised and smiled bitterly. The sword essences of Earth and Gale. One was massive and majestic with power and influence, while the other was flexible and visionary. If he could perfectly transition between them, these two sword essences would produce a terrible power which the grey-clothed elder could not oppose. The fourth level of the Dragon Gate passed. As for the fifth level, the opponent Jian Wushuang faced also comprehended the sword essence of Earth. Not only that, he was stronger than Jian Wushuang in sword essence of Earth comprehension and used it more freely. Jian Wushuang tried his best, fighting with him for quite a while. But finally, he was defeated, causing him to stop at the fifth level. When Jian Wushuang walked out of the Golden Pavilion, all the experts of Dragon Palace that were waiting outside looked at him. Passing through the fourth level is good enough, so he is qualified to enter Dragon Palace. However, there is a large gap in skill between him and Yang Zixuan. An extraordinary genius like Yang Zixuan is rare. It is impossible to come by two in a single day. Everyone in the area was secretly discussing it. Little guy, what's your name and how old are you? Palace Master White walked to him and asked directly. Swordsman, said Jian Wushuang, still chose to use this pseudonym, 17 years old. 17 years old. Everyone in the area was astonished, including both of the Palace Masters. Then, Palace Master White smiled and said, "Ha ha, good. It seems that we have one more genius. It's rare for a 17-year-old kid to pass through the fourth level of the Dragon Gate. You could be ranked between middle and upper among the many disciples in Dragon Palace." Palace Master Black, who stayed silent, nodded in agreement. Yi Rufeng, you brought a good disciple to Dragon Palace. Palace Master White looked over at Yi Rufeng. I just did my duty, said Yi Rufeng, remaining humble. Yang Zixuan, Swordsman, from now on, you are both disciples of Dragon Palace. Congratulations for becoming one of the many monsters in Qianzhong Dynasty, said Palace Master White with a laugh. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan stood side by side. After hearing this, Jian Wushuang smiled slightly and Yang Zixuan was indifferent as always. Come with me. I will take you to visit Dragon Palace, said Palace Master White, intending to escort both Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan. Suddenly, the surroundings totally calmed down. A white-haired man wearing white slowly walked into the people's sights. His hair is as white as snow, the strongest genius, Bai Cheng. The strongest disciple in Dragon Palace. It's him. He actually appeared. As he approached, all the disciples of Dragon Palace watched him with grim looks on their faces. Is he Bai Cheng? Jian Wushuang slightly squinted his eyes while hearing Bai Cheng's name mentioned in their discussion. The strongest person in Dragon Palace. Yang Zixuan raised his head and saw the white figure, with cold and prideful eyes, walking slowly in their direction. The white-haired man in white stopped. His black eyes, full of arrogance, swept over them as the sides of his mouth stretched upwards to form a meaningful smile. I heard that a newcomer passed through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate today, so I wanted to see for myself. Chapter 64, Ranked at the Bottom. Palace Master White, may I know which one of these two passed the 8th level? Though he seemed kind and gentle, there was a trace of insidious coldness inside his eyes when looking at Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan. Palace Master White instantly introduced them one by one, starting with Jian Wushuang. This is Swordsman, 17 years old. He passed through the 4th level. Oh. Bai Cheng glanced at Jian Wushuang with a faint smile and said, the 4th level. He would be ranked at the bottom among the many disciples of Dragon Palace. But he's young. If there are no accidents, it's possible for him to pass the 7th level before 20. He can reach the same level as Golden Dragon Ambassador Yi and would barely be an expert in the Qianzhong Dynasty. Hearing what he said, Yi Rufeng smiled faintly and ignored it. He did not dare to show any disdain. However, Jian Wushuang frowned and felt unpleasant. I might reach the level of Yi Rufeng. I might barely become an expert. Even I can't imagine what I might achieve in the future. What makes Bai Cheng think he can judge me with one glance in such a condescending manner, acting as if what he says will definitely come true in the future? How arrogant and conceited can he be? Even though he was unhappy, he didn't openly offend Bai Cheng. This is Yang Zixuan. He is the one who passed the 8th level and he is currently 21 years old, replied Palace Master White. Bai Cheng turned to face Yang Zixuan and fixed his eyes on him before saying, to pass through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate at 21 years old, you're promising. In Dragon Palace, I'm afraid that there is no one but me who could suppress you. You mean you are stronger than me right now? Yang Zixuan's expression fell. Bai Cheng didn't answer him, he just smiled confidently. Palace Master White, no one is in the Dragon Gate, right? Bai Cheng asked. Yes, Palace Master White nodded. Okay, I have not been tested in a long time. Today, let me give it a try. After saying that, he immediately entered the Dragon Gate. Both Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan, who were supposed to leave, stopped and looked carefully at the Golden Pavilion to see what would happen. After entering the Dragon Gate, Bai Cheng quickly passed through the first level, causing it to light up. Then he continued moving forward smoothly. He passed 8 levels in succession. Bai Cheng entered the 9th level and stayed in it for a long time before the 9th level finally lit up, releasing a golden light. The 9th level of Dragon Gate. Passed. He actually passed the 9th level. Yi Rufeng was shocked and couldn't say anything. It should be known that even if it was him, he would not be able to pass it, even after trying his best. However, Bai Cheng succeeded. He really was the top genius in Dragon Palace. This is the strongest person in Dragon Palace, so awesome. Though Yang Zixuan is great, he is new and young. He cannot compete with Bai Cheng yet. We thought Yang Zixuan would be strong enough to be Bai Cheng's opponent, but the truth is that he is far away from him for now. A large number of disciples of Dragon Palace in front of the Dragon Gate were discussing the recent events secretly. Not long after that, Bai Cheng walked out of the Golden Pavilion. Under the watchful eyes and shocked expressions, Bai Cheng walked over to Yang Zixuan again and smiled slightly before saying, "You'll need to work harder, freshman." After saying that, Bai Cheng left without looking back. Since Jian Wushuang only passed the 4th level, Bai Cheng did not even give him a second glance. He is really arrogant. Jian Wushuang licked his lips, the battle intent vaguely rising in his eyes. Yang Zixuan, what do you think? Jian Wushuang suddenly asked. About what? Yang Zixuan looked at him indifferently. I don't like him, don't you want to defeat him? Jian Wushuang asked. Crush him under my feet? He won't be qualified to be my opponent within 1 year, replied Yang Zixuan. Hearing that, the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth quirked up. All of you are so arrogant and conceited. Okay, you are peerless geniuses, so it's normal to be proud of yourselves. Besides, you really are strong, Jian Wushuang thought. Someone who just joined, passed the 8th level of the Dragon Gate, and the other one passed the 9th level. However, he could only pass the 4th level after trying his best. So there was a huge gap between him and those two peerless geniuses. The wider the gap was, the more it inspired him. There was a gap now, so what? It should be known that he had only started comprehending the essence realm of heaven and earth 4 months ago. It's unbelievable to comprehend both of the sword essences of Gale and Earth to such a high level within 4 months. No matter whether it was Bai Cheng or Yang Zixuan, they were both older than him and they had spent much more time comprehending the essence realm of heaven and earth as well. Bai Cheng asserted that I could only be a golden dragon messenger like Yi Rufeng in the future. Let's see, Jian Wushuang snorted. All right, go back to your places. Yang Zixuan, Swordsman, you both follow me, Palace Master White said. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan followed Palace Master White. Yi Rufeng and the Golden Dragon Messenger who brought Yang Zixuan here followed Palace Master Black to receive their rewards. These Golden Dragon Messengers had the right to recommend disciples. Every recommendation that passed the test and became a disciple of Dragon Palace would earn the Golden Dragon Messenger a reward based on the strength of the disciple. In the Dragon Palace. Both Jian Wushuang and Xianxia were curiously examining their surroundings while Palace Master White was telling them the basic information and rules of Dragon Palace. Dragon Palace is a cultivation sanctuary. You both became disciples of Dragon Palace means that you are talented. In Dragon Palace, there are 238 disciples, not counting both of you. Among the 238 disciples, only one had passed the 8th level of the Dragon Gate, and that was Bai Cheng. But now he has passed the 9th level. 16 disciples passed the 7th level. 67 passed the 6th level. 141 disciples passed the 5th level. The 13 disciples left past the 4th level. After saying this, Palace Master White could not help glancing at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang also could not help touching his nose with an embraced expression. There are 238 disciples in total and only 13 of them were at the 4th level. Most disciples were all at the 5th level or higher. It seems that Bai Cheng was right. I am at the lowest level in Dragon Palace right now. However, Jian Wushuang didn't worry about being at the bottom. It didn't mean that he would be at the bottom forever. So many geniuses are in Dragon Palace. However, the more geniuses the better for me. Jian Wushuang's eyes were sparkling with excitement. Chapter 65. 4 Matchless Heroes. Dragon Palace is known as a holy place for cultivation, and it's worthy of the name. Palace Master White continued. The 4 temples of earth, fire, water, and wind, the secret land of heaven and earth, and the secret pavilion are the 3 treasures of Dragon Palace. They are of great help to the disciples of Dragon Palace. As for the benefits of the 3 treasures, you will gradually understand them in the future. In addition, there are also 2 places for practicing: the Dragon Gate and Heavenly Palace. The Dragon Gate, which you have just tried, is the best place to test the progress of the Dragon Palace disciples. It can accurately gauge the disciples' perception to the essence realm of heaven and earth. As for the Heavenly Palace, that is used to test overall strength. Usually, no one will go to the Heavenly Palace. Only disciples who have enough strength to leave Dragon Palace will go to the Heavenly Palace. Palace Master White simply explained a few basic conditions of Dragon Palace again. Not long after that, she arrived at the manor with Jian Wushuang and Xianxia. Each disciple of Dragon Palace will have a single house. Your rooms are also in this manor, Palace Master White informed them. Jian Wushuang and Xianxia quickly noticed that the manor contained 4 independent houses, even though the area was not big. Fatty Wang. Palace Master White's voice echoed throughout the area. "Oh, I'm coming," a rough voice echoed back. After which, a big fat man in a blouse hurried out of one room and a timid figure hurried out of another room. Jian Wushuang looked at the 2 incoming people. That big fat man was not tall, but he was extremely large, weighing nearly 300 jins. That big face, larger than an ordinary person, was covered with a smile. But the smile seemed very quirky no matter what angle you looked from. As for the other person, she was a tall and thin girl with long blue hair. A young girl who appeared to be only 14 or 15 years old. She followed the big fat man, looking down in a very shy manner. It seemed like she was afraid to make eye contact with Jian Wushuang and Xianxia. Palace Master White glanced at the big fat man and told him, "From now on, they will live in the manor with you. You can take them and familiarize them with the environment of Dragon Palace." "No problem," the big fat man nodded and promised. "These are your disciple tokens, which contain your points. In Dragon Palace, points are very important. Many of the resources in Dragon Palace can only be redeemed using points," said Palace Master White. Jian Wushuang and Xianxia took the tokens and examined the numbers. 2,000 points. Jian Wushuang felt excited, then he looked at Xianxia's token. He had a full 6,000 points. "I only have 2,000 points, but he has 6,000 points, 3 times mine. Is it possible that the points depend on how many levels you pass through in the Dragon Gate?" Jian Wushuang secretly pondered. In his opinion, that was the only possibility given the situation. "All right, little guys, make sure to work hard. Many years from now, I hope to see another 2 excellent disciples emerge from my Dragon Palace," said Palace Master White, who smiled and then immediately departed. After Palace Master White walked away, The big fat man immediately looked over and introduced himself. My name is Wang Yuan, and the girl next to me is Su Ru. Swordsman, Jian Wushuang said. Xianxia, also introduced himself. Swordsman, Xianxia, your arrival made the manor considerably full. Come, for the first meeting, the four of us need to have a quick drink, replied Wang Yuan with a smile. Then, he turned up his hand and a wine pot appeared. After the stopper was opened, the aroma of the wine soon spread it out. Smelling the aroma, Jian Wushuang smiled. While on the other side, Xianxia's indifferent expression also slightly relaxed a bit. After which, the four of them drank in front of the stone table in this manner. After drinking a few glasses of wine in succession, the atmosphere was no longer so boring. At this time, Wang Yuan said, Swordsman, Xianxia, we will not live in the manor together for more than several years. It's too polite to call each other by name. What if we call each other as brothers and sisters according to age? I'm the oldest, so I'm the elder brother. Xianxia, your age is only a little younger than mine, so you are the second brother. Swordsman, you, the third brother. As for Su Ru, she's our fourth sister. All right. Wang Yuan smiled and looked around. Okay, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. After all, they will live in the same manner in the future. The relationship among them should be better. And after drinking, the three of them all left a good impression on him. Wang Yuan, he was a generous and careless person without any scheming. This kind of person is the most worthwhile to make friends with, except his talkativeness. Xianxia, as indifferent as he is, did not put on airs. It's said that he is the one who broke into the 8th level of the Dragon Palace when he arrived. With such talent, he was still willing to sit down with them to have a few drinks. His eyes did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. For the point, making friends with him was very worthwhile. As for the last one, the little girl Su Ru, she's so timid and shy that she didn't dare to say one word while they were drinking. Jian Wushuang felt a little strange in the beginning, but later he heard from Fatty Wang that when Su Ru was a little girl, she had been sold to a mansion as a servant girl. To be a servant girl since childhood, it's normal for her to be so timid. However, this timid little girl had a great reputation in Dragon Palace. As mentioned before, among the disciples of Dragon Palace, only Bai Cheng had passed through the 8th floor. There were 16 disciples that had passed through the 7th level and Su Ru was one of them. And most importantly, this year, Su Ru was only 14 years old. The 14-year-old Su Ru broke through the 7th level of the Dragon Gate. What does that mean? So, after Jian Wushuang and Xianxia learned of her achievement, they were both astonished. Similarly, Su Ru is also worth making friends with. Therefore, after hearing the proposal of Wang Yuan, Jian Wushuang immediately agreed. Xianxia, as always, was indifferent, giving neither refusal nor opposition. As for the timid girl Su Ru, she nodded her head shyly. Ha ha, since there is no objection, let us make this decision final. From now on, the four of us are siblings. We shall share happiness and hardship together, said Wang Yuan. Then he smiled and lifted the cup for a toast. Without any hesitation, Jian Wushuang and Su Ru immediately raised their glasses. As for Xianxia, he pondered for a while, then raised the glass too. Kwang! With the toasting finished, the famous Qianzong dynasty and the four matchless heroes of the heaven and the earth were born. And with that spectacular, continent-shaking victory, we conclude Chapter 65. Jian Wushuang is the undisputed champion. He has not only claimed the title but also dismantled the dark forces manipulating the competition, proving that his destiny is truly boundless. The prize he has won is beyond measure, providing a massive boost to his cultivation and setting him up for the next phase of his saga. The regional stage is too small now. Wushuang's achievements will echo across the wider world, drawing the attention of true powerhouses and possibly even revealing more about his own mysterious lineage. Join us next time for chapters 66, 67, 68, 69, and 70, as Wushuang begins his post-victory phase, dealing with the aftermath, securing his resources, and setting his sights on an even larger world stage. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If you are ready for the next level of the epic, please subscribe and hit that notification bell.